next on the standoff, diplomatic standoff between India and Canada, as the standoff between the two nations continues to escalate. Canada's defense minister has now described the relationship with India as important, saying his country will continue to pursue partnerships like Indo-Pacific strategy. Viewers, this comes after tensions flared between India and Canada following Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau's explosive allegations of a potential involvement of Indian agents in the killing of Khalistani extremist Hardeep Singh Nijjar on his country's soil on the 18th of June in British Columbia. India had designated Nijjar as a terrorist in 2020 itself. And this is the latest that's coming in on the standoff that continues to escalate. But it's a comment that we need to understand in its actual context. It's a comment made by the Canadian Defence Minister. As the standoff continues to escalate, the Defence Minister of Canada has now described our relationship as being very important, and that his country will continue to pursue partnerships like Indo-Pacific strategy. And this comes in the midst of, already flaring tensions between the two nations, which continues, the tensions continue to simmer because of the allegations made by Justin Trudeau in the Canadian Parliament. Allegations of India having a hand in the killing of Hardeep Singh Nijjar, a known Khalistani terrorist. Meanwhile, in a major embarrassment for Canada, the Justin Trudeau-led government has attracted heavy criticism for recently honoring a 98-year-old Ukrainian war veteran who is believed to have fought in the Second World War on behalf of a Nazi military unit at the House of Commons. So, a major blunder we are hearing about on the part of the Trudeau government in Canada, and what is being seen as a huge embarrassment for his government. Justin Trudeau-led government in Canada has attracted heavy criticism over its felicitation of a Ukrainian war veteran. A war veteran who is believed to have fought on the side of the Nazis.
Zelensky's speech received at least a dozen standing ovations. There was also one for this man, a 98-year-old Ukrainian Canadian who fought for Ukrainian independence against the Russians during the Second World War. Zelensky's speech received at least a dozen standing ovations. There was also one for this man, a 98-year-old Ukrainian Canadian who fought for Ukrainian independence against the Russians during the Second World War. Zelensky's speech received at least a dozen standing ovations. There was also one for this man, a 98-year-old Ukrainian Canadian who fought for Ukrainian independence against the Russians during the Second World War. Zelensky's speech received at least a dozen standing ovations. There was also one for this man, a 98-year-old Ukrainian Canadian who fought for Ukrainian independence against the Russians.
So it's a huge embarrassment for the Trudeau-led government in Canada. In a totally unrelated incident now, the government is facing flack for having honored a Ukrainian war veteran who is said to have been involved in the Holocaust during the Second World War. It has drawn immense flack for honoring the Nazi-linked veteran. Canadian Speaker has now apologized for honoring a man who fought for the Nazis. And the statement of Canada House Speaker was heard with the video of the standing ovation to a Nazi involved in the Jewish Holocaust. And this is the latest embarrassment for the Trudeau-led government. Samiksha joining us. Huge embarrassment. Samiksha, even as the Canadian House Speaker, has come out with an apology, and we did hear that apology, Samiksha, but honoring a Nazi, someone who was involved with fighting on the side of the Nazis, who was involved in the Holocaust, atrocious acts against the Jews during the Second World War. Huge embarrassment there for the Trudeau-led government.
Well, that's right, Rukma. And just to read out the statement that's been put out by the House Speaker, Anthony Rota, who said, and I'm reading out the statement in which he's issued an apology. He says, on Friday, 22nd of September, in my remarks, following the address of the President of Ukraine, I recognized an individual in the gallery. I have subsequently become aware of more information which causes me to regret my decision to do so. Important to note here in the tape also that he just laid out how it was a stand to the Nazi sympathizers with the Nazi-linked veterans. In fact, the Speaker goes on to say, I wish to make clear that no one, including fellow parliamentarians and the Ukrainian delegation, was aware of my intention or of my remarks before I delivered them. He goes on to say this initiative was entirely my own. So clearly he's saying that he is to be blamed for it and not to pin the blame on the Canadian government. So as to say, he first says that the individual in question being from my riding and having been brought to my attention, I particularly want to extend my deepest apologies to the Jewish communities in Canada and around the world. I accept full responsibility for my actions. So, Rukma, there you have it. That's the statement that's been given by the House Speaker, who's taken full responsibility, but needless to say that the damage has already been done with several Jewish communities in Canada having been offended, of course, after what we saw in the Parliament House.
Well, many thanks for detailing that for us, Samiksha. And well, it's a huge embarrassment for the Trudeau-led government.